Welcome to The Swing of Things, U.S. Rowing's podcast produced by Row 360. This episode is sponsored by Filippi Lido. The road to the Olympics is never easy, but partners like Filippi certainly make the journey better. U.S. Rowing is grateful to Filippi for providing our high-performance athletes with world-class racing shells, both at home and abroad. With the Paris Olympics just days away, I'm speaking with U.S. Olympian Megan Musnicki. Megan is a 5-time world champion and 2-time Olympic gold medalist, part of the historic U.S. Rowing Women's 8 dynasty. After Tokyo, Megan hung up her oar and started life after rowing. But now she is on the cusp of her 4th, and this time, she says, final Olympic Games. We discuss how she was drawn back into international rowing, her Paris preparations, and what it's like to be coached by your husband. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome to the show Team USA powerhouse, Megan Musnicki. Hi, Megan. It's good to see you over there in Italy.
Hi, Amanda. It's great to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So what was training today?
This morning, we had a little bit of a delay because there were some storms rolling through Italy. So we had to switch some things around. We did some race prep work this afternoon. We're about, it's the 12th. We're about exactly 10 days out from leaving to go to Paris. So it's all very exciting.
Yeah, it sure is. How's the food? I picture
It's
you
good.
eating a lot of pasta.
Yeah, we stay at the same hotel every time we come, and it's run by this family that's wonderful. They're very familiar with us, and it's a great setup for us. It's like a 15-minute walk to the lake if you want to walk, or there's vans and stuff that take us. But it's a pretty great location to train, and it's gorgeous.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right. Well, thanks for taking some time today. You are with the team now, and you're in the women's 8 and busy training. How is the prep going now for the full group over in Italy?
I think it's going really well. It's a lot of fun to be in one place as one whole group. I don't remember off the top of my head the exact number of athletes that we have, but it's all of the boats that are going to Paris, and we're all here together, men, women, open weight, lightweight, and it's just a great sense of team camaraderie. And you get to do, when you line up to do pieces, you do them against other boats as well. And so you all get to do it together. And it's just a lot of fun. It is very team oriented, and there's a lot of kind of team spirit that goes into it. Yeah,
that brings me right to another question. So this will be your 4th Olympics.
That's right.
Which is such an astounding achievement for any American rower. And
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And to say the least, you've been around the block, you've done this. I'd love to hear about this year's team dynamic. And you sort of touched on that just now, but the men and women, like you said, have been training together for quite some time now as a single team. Like you said, sweep, scull, men, women, open weight, lightweight. What's that been like? And how has that been a different experience for you and the other athletes?
So it's been great to be the short answer is that it has been great. We've been together pretty much as a unit, almost nonstop since January. Obviously there are some weeks here and there where we haven't been, but since our altitude camp in January, but we've definitely all been together since selection ended, which was trials were the end of March, beginning of April. Gosh, I don't remember the exact date now, but it's really great to constantly be intermixed with everyone. You see, and it feels like just kind of a bigger team, a bigger group that is obviously all going for the same thing, the best result possible at the Paris Games. And so it's a lot of fun to train together and, develop the relationships that you have with all those other athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. And just over a year ago, actually it wasn't even, last September you were at Worlds in the pair. And now you're sitting in the women's 8. And can you talk us through sort of that shift? Did you imagine that you would be in the women's 8 for the Olympics or heading in that direction? Tell us sort of what that journey was.
Yeah, so it's actually really interesting. I thought after the Tokyo Games that I was for sure retired at this time around. And I got married to Skip Kilt, who's one of the coaches out of CRC. And CRC obviously is out in California. So after we got married on the East Coast, I moved west and kind of started my, what you would say, like the rest of my life
Hmm.
after rowing there, but ended up training, or rather ended up working out with a woman who was on the Australian team who happened to be dating one of the men who had also retired after Tokyo. And we became fast friends. And she had always planned on going back to Australia. So she was in more of a regular training schedule, so to speak.
Hmm.
And then one day Mike Tatey said to us, you guys should go out in a pair together. And we're like, okay, because she happened to be a starboard and I'm a port. And so we went out and we just had a blast. And we did it a couple of times. And Mike was like, do you guys want to go race at Henley? And we kind of looked at him, we're like, really? And he's like, yeah, well, CRC will pay for you to go over, just go have fun. Like
Yeah.
this is, there's no pressure. There's not, like it's Henley is obviously like kind of a carnival of rowing. It's such an amazing experience to go over and be able to experience Henley. And so Jess and I got in a boat and went over to Henley and raced and ended up winning the pair, the Hamilton Pairs Challenge. And that was in the summer of 2022. And that I would say was when the seed was planted, like, oh, maybe I should try
Mm.
and do this again. But kind of at that point in my career, I was married, I had a full-time job, I was working full-time, I had a home out there in California, and I didn't want to move back to Princeton to live and train full-time.
Sure.
That just wasn't palatable to me. I was 40 and it just that wasn't something that I was considering doing. And so coincidentally, Allie Rusher texted me one day about a week before the winter speed order in Florida. And she was just asking what I was up to. Allie moved out to California and we decided that we were going to commit to training in the pair together. And so that's what we did. And we took the boat down to Chula for NSRs and ended up winning, which meant that we got to be the pair for Worlds that year. And then we went to Worlds where we qualified the pair for the US. We came in sixth at Worlds, but we qualified the boat for the Olympics. Um, After that, we weren't sure what we kind of wanted to do. Long story short, I ended up in the eight, and here we are.
Did you think you'd end up in the eight? I mean, is that what you wanted to have happen, or was
I
it
wouldn't say it was what I wanted or what I didn't want. I was
okay?
open to what was going to happen, right? Like I love to race, I love to compete, and I wanted to be in a fast boat and hopefully help make a fast boat faster. And so it yeah, I wouldn't say it was something I wanted or didn't want to do. I kind of didn't look at it that way. It was more of just like looking for the opportunity and
Sure.
seeing if I was going to be able to contribute and make it.
Well, if there's anyone we know who can contribute to a women's boat, I don't know that there isn't another American woman who has contributed as much as you have. So
Thank
I
you.
think that goes without saying. And so, how is it being in that eight as a real veteran with
I
some?
love it.
You do. So, do you play
Yeah,
that
it's a
role a
great.
bit as a? I mean, do the
Yeah, I
others
think
look to you
so for
that
sure,
way?
but it's not as most of the time it's not as black and white as a lot of people would think that it is. I mean, obviously, yes, I'm a veteran and I'm the oldest and I bring the most experience to the boat, but
Hmm.
the boat works really well together, all nine of us. And I don't, or at least I try not to force anything on the group as a whole because, you know, I'm relatively, when I joined the group in January, it's
Hmm.
not about bringing and making them do things the way that I know how to do them or the way that I had done them. It's about integrating into this group that already exists and already has kind of they're their own organism.
Hmm.
They have their own way of doing things. They have their own methodologies. They have their own personalities, right? And so like if I can seamlessly fit into that and add to it and enhance it, then that's awesome. Now, having said that, I am relatively unwavering in my um, standards, and it's a great group because I think that as a group of nine, we continually um, try and raise the bar and push the standard. And it's just a lot of fun. Um, I really love it.
It seems like it. I mean, everyone's following Women in the Boat and on
Yeah.
Instagram, and this seems like a really tight, fast group that enjoys one another. Do you think? Well, okay. One question I've been dying to ask about, and I'm sure our listeners will want to hear: having a husband as a coach. I
Yes.
actually asked him about that too when I saw him in Princeton last. I said, do you switch hats, Skip? You know, do you put on the husband hat and then you switch and put on the
What did he
coach
say?
hat? He said, yeah, he does that as necessary. And, you know, he sort of smiled and,
Yeah.
you know, and I also asked him, you know, I said, you must be really proud as a husband, as a coach. And he said, yes, of course. So how is that though? I mean, most people out there don't have their husbands, and I know he's not your coach at the moment,
Yeah. Yes.
but he has coached you. And
Yeah.
how is that? I mean, do you like, what's that dynamic like?
It's not as strange as you would think. There are challenges to it for sure. And so just obviously for background for anyone who's listening, Skip was mine and Allie's coach all last year when we were racing in the pair. So, and then he's also coached me before. He coached Jess and I before we went to Henley. But he was our full-time coach and my and Allie's full-time coach last year. Um, I would say honestly, one of the hardest parts is not turning on the coach athlete relationship, but more turning it off when we're home,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because again, it is such a natural space for me. I've been doing this for so long that, and he's obviously in the rowing world for so long that it is a natural, comfortable place for us to be as a coach and an athlete independently. And so it's just a matter of when you're home being like, okay, let's not. Right. Like, let's not constantly talk about this or look at this video or
Right.
think about this, but more just kind of exist as a couple.
Right.
I would also say, we do have our moments where I push back harder than if he were not my husband, so to speak.
Yes.
But I also think I was really lucky in the sense that he knows me very well as a human being and as also as an athlete and a non-athlete. And so, I think that that's hugely beneficial as a coach if you kind of understand how your athlete or your athletes kind of operate mentally and emotionally, and also physically, right? Like he knows he can easily look at me and be like, oh, she's normal level tired, or oh, she's too tired because I'm older, right? So it's different, kind of how I go about things. But it was normal. We obviously had our moments, but I think we both tried really hard to, if we did kind of butt heads, to like step back from it for just a second and then let it settle. And that was like it. There was never anything that was like held over from practice
At the dinner time conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Allie would probably agree. Most of the time we did a good time, or we did a good job. There would be a few times where I would like talk back to him on the water, where obviously I would never talk back to like Tom or Jesse.
Right, of course. Right.
But and then
if you remember to put the laundry in the dryer as much as you reminded me to keep my shoulders down.
Exactly, right.
Skip.
Or like I would yell at him because I can't, like if I can't hear him or understand him,
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't hear you.
They're always mumbling. Just like your
Stop
mother.
mumbling.
No. Right. Yes. Right. Yeah. Well, it's different. It's a different dynamic. He's a great guy though. So
yeah, I'm partial to him.
Yes. So Megan, and you can say, if you can't say right now, is this it? Is Paris? Is this it? Okay. I saw the look on your face. Okay. This is it. This is really it. Okay.
This is really it.
Okay.
Which is exciting and sad all at the same time.
Of course.
I'm really trying to just enjoy all of the moments that go into the process, because it is definitely my last time. And I am so incredibly grateful to have experienced so much success, but also outside of the success, so many moments that have shaped me, the ups, the downs, the wins, the losses. I was part of the U.S. women's rowing dynasty that existed under Tom and Laurel. And I was part of the team that came in fourth, and it's like you experience so much of those things. And I've had the incredible opportunity to train with so many fast, incredible, strong women. And not many people can say that, and I don't take it for granted because it's an incredible opportunity, and it's been a gift.
When you look back after Paris, what do you think when you've retired? What do you think will stand out to you as you look back at all of these years of training and racing? What will stand out? Can you name a couple of things that will stand out to you the most?
It's the moments in between the racing that will stand out the most. Like, yeah, the races stand out, because obviously they're part of it, but we we're together more times not racing than we are together racing. And so it's the small moments. It's, when a song comes on in the weight room and the girls start dancing because they love that song. It's someone's birthday. It's an inside joke with someone. It's working out in 95-degree heat when you're deep in a heavy training cycle and all you want to do is stop and lay down, but the person in front of you is like working just as hard as you are and doing it with them. It's those types of moments. It's looking back and thinking of the athletes that in my first cycle that helped shape me so immensely into the athlete that I am today. It's the moments in between the racing that will stand out the most.
I love that. Do you have advice for younger women coming up through the ranks? Maybe they're even in high school and they're thinking, I want to grow up into a rower like Megan. I want to pursue this Olympic dream. What advice do you have for those younger rowers?
Don't be afraid of not hitting your goal initially or hitting setbacks and not being able to do it right on the first try. It's not an easy path, but it doesn't have to be easy. And it doesn't have to be like this big, huge thing. Just take it one step at a time. If you're in high school and you're like, oh, I want to be on the national team, well, show up for practice the next day in your high school and execute to that practice to the best of your ability. And then do it again the next day. And you have to enjoy that process. That's not to say you're going to enjoy every single moment of it, because it's you care so much and you have so much invested in it, but you can't be discouraged by it. You can't be bogged down by it. You have to just be like, okay, I'm going to pick them back up again and keep going. That would be my advice.
Megan, thank you so much for your time today. I know you're busy training and should be focused on all things Olympics. And so carving out some time to speak to me and give our listeners a chance, our rowers around the country a chance to hear from you is really important. There's so many people who look up to you and are cheering for you from around this country who will be there or watching on TV early in the morning here. Just thank you so much for all you've done for this sport, and excited to see you there.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Amanda. It was wonderful to be on and wonderful to chat with you.
And that's all for this episode of The Swing of Things. Best of luck to Megan and all of our athletes in Paris. We're rooting for you. Remember to like, share, and follow from wherever you get your podcasts. It helps others to find us. Please subscribe to make sure you don't miss future episodes. Let the games begin.